Hey everybody, welcome to What the Flick, Girls' final season, episode 5, Gummies, Ben, Brett, Grace, and Alonso. We were just talking about feud and about the difference between the show's version of Whatever Happened to Baby Jane and the real movie. And in this episode, we get to see the movie version of moments that we have experienced earlier on this show, which I always find kind of a fun parallel.
But it's from the perspective of Adam.
Of course.
Very clearly from his point of view, and Jessa doesn't like that so much.
Right. But just from a general meta approach, if there's one show you think will go meta up its own ass, it would be this show.
Yeah.
Like how do we see us? Forget how everyone else sees us. How do we see us?
Yeah, I watched this episode with my girlfriend last night, and she'd never seen an episode of Girls before, and so she was coming in totally cold. And she midway through, when she realized it was a movie of the TV show, she said, "I think that when shows are really losing it, they do a movie of the show." And she pointed out the L word in One Tree Hill, and I was like, well, that's kind of
or someone has a baby.
Yeah, a baby or a movie.
But they are. Well, first of all, they are ending it, so we're not. They're not desperate for storylines.
Seinfeld, for that matter.
And it certainly doesn't, to me, feel like it doesn't feel like that, because it feels, again, it is the kind of indulgent thing that Jessa and Adam would come up with. It is from Adam's perspective, yet this, like the actress playing Hannah, is filled with complexity and humanity. Like, she's good and he's right, you know.
She's really good.
Yeah, and Jessa can't in any way handle it, because Jessa's version of it is that she was crazy and then you found meaningful love with me, when we know, that Adam-Hannah relationship probably had to end, right? But that was super meaningful.
Yeah,
right.
It was too hot not to cool down,
Right.
quote Cole Porter. It's funny, when that first in the spanking scene started, I'm like, who is that? And Dave goes, Lena Dunham. I'm like, no, she doesn't have tattoos. Who is that? And then we realized what was going on.
For a second, it took me a second to figure out that wasn't Jessa. Like, they both have been, like in the last episode, we saw Jessa walking around with no pants on and a long shirt. Yeah, so again, to look underneath the veil of what an ex relationship was, of someone that you're in a relationship with, like, you don't want to do that. And that's something that Jessa had no idea would really happen, though she should have, which is, listen, if you want to make a good movie that examines your life, you're gonna have to put up with seeing the thing that no one else sees, which is behind the scenes of another relationship.
Right.
And she couldn't handle it.
No, I didn't read it. I'm a producer.
Yeah, great line.
Yeah.
But so she doesn't want to disturb the narrative that she has in her mind of what their relationship must have been like, because it all has to be about, it can't be anything but a lead into him meeting Jessa and then everything being perfect in his life.
Great, a lot of really power, the scene between Hannah and not Hannah was a nice scene.
Yes.
There on the stoop, really, I thought.
The scene between Hannah and Elijah in the restaurant, although get the fuck out of the kitchen.
Yeah.
Why they didn't get like hot grease thrown at them by the people who were trying to work in there while they were occupying valuable space. But no, that's a great scene. And as cruel as Elijah is being, he's also kind of right. I mean, do we think that having a kid is remotely a good idea?
I think it was well written, because that is exactly how I think Elijah should and would have responded. I think it would not have been authentic to who we've come to know through this show if he'd been like, of course I'll help you out, and I don't care how I found out, like I'm there for you, we're gonna do this together. That's not how he would have reacted. I think that he's gonna sort of explode, and then I do think that we'll see them come back together.
He might come back to that. I don't know, there are things you can't ever say. There are truths that don't need to be said, because first of all, you don't know, right? And having a child is a shocking moment that changes people's equilibrium, and people who aren't prepared for it, they just come around. They just so the words. I mean, he could get mad. He can do a lot of things. The words, I'm just going to say this. I mean, she is a good actress, man. When she says, when he's like, I'm going to say something that nobody else will, and she's like, okay, here we go. I've had a lot of these moments in my life before. You cannot say the words, you're gonna be a terrible mother. You can't do it.
But it's true. But it's absolutely true, right? Is there any chance she'd be a good mom?
Yeah, sure, of course.
No, there's no chance she'd be a good mom, and here's why. Because in that last scene where she's sitting next...
That was a great Cenk Uygur. I don't know what you... And here's why. I'm gonna
He's
tell you
on
why.
my shirt, it had to happen.
Yeah, that's right.
And here's why. In that last scene when they're sitting on the stoop, there is a chance for Lena Dunham to look at the version of herself, the person who's playing her, and say, listen, I'm turning a corner and I'm gonna be a good person. But instead, she uses the pregnancy to be interesting, and she takes advantage of it, not because she's having a baby, but because of what saying I'm pregnant does to the person next to her with the smoke clearing.
Right.
So in the post show, there is an interview where she says, you know what? Hannah's gonna be strong and do these things despite what other people tell her to do and how they think of her. But the truth is, everything she's doing is playing right into how people see her.
I don't know. I didn't see that. I didn't see it. I hear you. I didn't see it. I don't think she's made some turn. This is 3 days old. First of all, let's not presume this is girls and this is Lena Dunham, and she might have an abortion.
Yeah,
entirely possible. This show could end with an abortion.
Yeah, because
that would be what.
The size of a lentil bean. Is that
right?
There's a moment of that, so it's still very early on into how she's going to handle
she's got
pregnancy.
time. Yeah,
and I mean, they've kind of painted themselves into a corner a little bit. I mean, it appears now they could totally do some amazing switcheroo, but it's like either she has the abortion, which you kind of expect, or she has the baby and that somehow fixes her and turns her into an adult, which is trite and not up to the kind of writing that Dunham's been doing up till now. Or she has the baby and she's completely flummoxed by it, which I think is the only ending that really makes sense at this point.
Late.
Well, Jenny Connor and Lena Dunham were on Howard, and they talked about the ending. They wouldn't give away anything. They're like, look, we have an ending, but it's not, you can't end this show. These girls are gonna continue on past the show. They're not gonna, they're not dying in a bus crash.
The end of girls, yeah.
So I mean, I presume that there's gonna be, Hannah's gonna be, if she has a baby, is gonna be, flummoxed and all over the place, and Marnie's not gonna be able to make it because she's got a super important spin class,
Quiet Pilates.
But I mean, Ray's like one of the great characters in television history.
Yeah.
I love Ray.
And finally gave Marnie the heave-ho, which was a wise move on his part, I think.
You don't like Ray?
That's a big statement, and I had to sift through everything I know of Ray.
It's unexpected.
It is unexpected. It's in a show about girls to have one of the best characters be a guy is an interesting statement. He has been responsible for a lot of truth telling on the show. He's the one who looks at you and tells you how he feels.
Yeah, he's just funny. He's funny without quite totally
I will say that the best relationship is the one between the healthiest moment
Ray
between Shosh and Ray.
All right, we have to wrap up, but real quick, I just wanted to mention the mom getting stoned in this episode.
Yeah.
Very brilliantly played, and I think also really cool in that when Hannah tells her friends about the pregnancy, she kind of knows that they're going to make it all about themselves. She probably didn't expect that her mother would do the exact same thing, which is what she does.
Yeah.
She makes the whole thing about like, oh great, my ticking clock toward death, my grandchild.
Grace, real quick, I know we got to go. Great, were you into this episode? Did you?
Oh no, I really liked it. I thought also it was great to watch with my girlfriend because it was funny. And some episodes of Girls are not funny, and you say it's a comedy by Lena Dunham, and then it feels like you're sort of misleading someone. But this was very funny. Her mom was hilarious.
Can I buy one dumpling? It was great. There's nothing that anyone in the world could do if the entire 6 billion people on the planet conspired to keep Ray and Shosh from getting together and getting married, they'd fail.
Right.
That's happening.
It's happening.
That's done.
It's definitely
That die is cast. Yeah.
All right, we'll be back next week with more girls. Thanks for watching.